Looking in the mirror this morning, did you notice something different? Maybe your vision seemed a little blurry, or you felt unusually thirsty despite drinking water all night. What if I told you that these seemingly innocent symptoms could be your body's desperate attempt to warn you about something life-threatening happening right now? Every 17 seconds, someone is diagnosed with diabetes. But here's the terrifying truth. By the time most people get diagnosed, they've already had diabetes for 5 to 7 years. That means right now, as you're watching this video, millions of people are walking around with a silent killer destroying their bodies from the inside, and they have absolutely no idea. The symptoms I'm about to reveal aren't just minor inconveniences, they're emergency signals from your body. Ignore them, and you could be looking at kidney failure, blindness, heart disease, or worse. But catch them early, and you could literally save your own life. The seventh symptom on this list is so subtle that 89% of doctors miss it during routine checkups, yet it's often the very first warning sign your body gives you. Stay with me because what you're about to learn could be the difference between living a healthy, vibrant life or spending your golden years hooked up to dialysis machines. Let's dive in. Your body is incredibly intelligent. When something goes wrong, it doesn't just suffer in silence. It screams for help through symptoms. The problem is, we've become so disconnected from our bodies that we dismiss these warning signs as stress, aging, or just being busy. This is a massive mistake that could cost you everything. Diabetes doesn't just appear overnight. It's a slow, insidious process that begins months or even years before your doctor's blood test finally catches it. During this pre-diabetic phase, your body is already struggling to manage blood sugar, and it's sending out distress signals that most people completely ignore. The medical community calls this the silent phase of diabetes, but it's only silent if you don't know what to listen for. Once you understand these 7 early warning signs, you'll never miss them again. And more importantly, you'll have the power to take action before irreversible damage occurs. Let's start with the most common symptom that almost everyone experiences but nobody connects to diabetes. You've probably felt this within the last week and dismissed it as something completely normal. Excessive thirst that never seems satisfied. I'm not talking about being thirsty after a workout or on a hot day. I'm talking about drinking glass after glass of water and still feeling like your mouth is full of cotton. You might find yourself waking up multiple times during the night just to drink water, or carrying a water bottle everywhere because you constantly feel parched. Here's what's actually happening inside your body. When your blood sugar levels start rising above normal ranges, your kidneys go into overdrive trying to filter out the excess glucose. This process requires massive amounts of water, literally pulling fluid from your tissues and cells. Your body becomes dehydrated at the cellular level, triggering an intense thirst response that no amount of water seems to satisfy. But here's the cruel irony. The more water you drink, the more you need to urinate, which leads to even more dehydration. It becomes a vicious cycle that leaves you feeling constantly thirsty and running to the bathroom every hour. Most people think they're just drinking too much water, or maybe their kidneys are getting older. They have no idea their body is desperately trying to flush out toxic levels of sugar. This symptom typically appears when your blood sugar levels consistently stay above 180 milligrams per deciliter. At this point, your glucose tolerance is already severely compromised, but you might still test normal on a basic fasting glucose test because those tests only capture a snapshot in time. The second symptom is directly connected to the first, and it's probably disrupting your sleep more than you realize. Frequent urination, especially at night, is your kidneys crying out for help. When I say frequent, I mean urinating every hour or two, including multiple trips to the bathroom after you've gone to bed. Your kidneys are remarkable organs that normally reabsorb almost all the glucose that passes through them. But when blood sugar levels exceed their capacity, typically around 180 milligrams per deciliter, they can't keep up. The excess glucose spills into your urine, and because glucose draws water with it, you end up producing massive amounts of dilute urine. This isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. You're losing essential electrolytes like sodium and potassium along with all that fluid. This electrolyte imbalance can cause muscle cramps, weakness, and irregular heart rhythms. Many people develop chronic fatigue during this stage, not realizing it's because their body is literally draining itself of vital nutrients every time they urinate. The medical term for excessive urination is polyuria, and it's often accompanied by a sweet or fruity smell to the urine due to the glucose content. If you've noticed your urine has an unusual odor, this could be a critical warning sign that your blood sugar has been dangerously elevated for weeks or months. Now let's talk about a symptom that seems completely contradictory but is actually one of the most reliable early indicators of diabetes. Unexplained weight loss despite eating normally or even more than usual. This might sound like a blessing in our weight-obsessed culture, but when it happens without trying, it's often a sign that something is seriously wrong. When your cells can't access glucose due to insulin resistance or insulin deficiency, they literally begin to starve. Your body goes into survival mode and starts breaking down muscle tissue and fat stores for energy. This process, called gluconeogenesis, can cause rapid weight loss of 10, 20, or even 30 pounds in a matter of weeks. The weight loss typically starts gradually, maybe a pound or two that you attribute to stress or being busy. But then it accelerates and people start complimenting you on how great you look. Meanwhile, your body is consuming itself from the inside out. The muscle mass you're losing isn't just cosmetic, it's metabolically active tissue that helps regulate blood sugar. The more muscle you lose, the worse your blood sugar control becomes. This type of weight loss is particularly dangerous because it often affects older adults who may already have reduced muscle mass. When diabetes accelerates muscle loss in someone over 50, it can lead to frailty, increased fall risk, and a cascade of health problems that dramatically reduce quality of life and longevity. If you've lost more than 5% of your body weight in the past 6 months without trying, and especially if you're still eating normally, this should be considered a medical emergency. Your body is literally wasting away because it can't properly use the fuel you're giving it. The fourth symptom is one that most people blame on stress, lack of sleep, or just getting older, but it's actually a direct result of your cells being starved of energy. Persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest is a hallmark of early diabetes, and it has a very specific physiological cause. Think of insulin as the key that unlocks your cells so glucose can enter and provide energy. When you develop insulin resistance, it's like the locks on your cells get rusty and the key doesn't work properly. Glucose builds up in your bloodstream while your cells cry out for fuel. No matter how much you eat or how much you sleep, you feel exhausted because your cellular engines are running on empty. This isn't ordinary tiredness that goes away after a good night's sleep. This is bone-deep exhaustion that makes it hard to concentrate at work, difficult to exercise, and challenging to maintain relationships. You might find yourself falling asleep during movies, struggling to stay alert during meetings, or needing naps even after sleeping 8 hours. The fatigue of early diabetes also has a mental component. Your brain consumes about 20% of your body's glucose, and when that supply becomes unreliable, cognitive function suffers. You might experience brain fog, difficulty making decisions, memory problems, or feeling like you're thinking through molasses. Many people in the early stages of diabetes report feeling like they're aging rapidly. They blame their fatigue on their job, their kids, or just life stress, not realizing their body's energy production system is failing. This symptom can persist for years before blood sugar levels become obviously abnormal on standard tests. Here's where things get really concerning. The fifth symptom affects one of your most precious senses, and the damage can be permanent if not caught early. Blurred vision or changes in your eyesight are among the most serious early warning signs of diabetes, yet they're often dismissed as needing new glasses or just getting older. High blood sugar levels cause the lens in your eye to swell by drawing fluid into it. This changes the shape of the lens and affects how light focuses on your retina, resulting in blurred or distorted vision. You might notice that your vision seems blurry in the morning but clears up later in the day, or that it fluctuates throughout the day as your blood sugar levels rise and fall. But the real danger lies in what's happening to the tiny blood vessels in your retina. Chronically elevated blood sugar damages these delicate vessels through a process called glycation, where sugar molecules basically caramelize onto proteins in the blood vessel walls. This makes the vessels stiff, leaky, and prone to bleeding. Initially, you might not notice any symptoms at all from this retinal damage. That's what makes it so dangerous. By the time you experience vision problems from diabetic retinopathy, significant irreversible damage has already occurred. Some people report seeing floating spots, flashing lights, or having difficulty with night vision as early signs of retinal damage. The tragedy is that diabetic eye disease is completely preventable if caught early, but it's the leading cause of blindness in adults under 65. Regular eye exams can detect these changes years before they affect your vision, but most people only see an eye doctor when they're already having problems. If you've noticed any changes in your vision, especially if they coincide with other symptoms on this list, don't wait for your annual checkup. See an eye doctor immediately for a comprehensive dilated eye exam. Early detection and treatment can prevent up to 95% of diabetes-related blindness. The sixth symptom affects your body's largest organ and is often the first sign that something is wrong, yet it's frequently misdiagnosed or attributed to other causes. Slow-healing wounds, frequent infections, or recurring skin problems are all signs that your immune system is compromised by elevated blood sugar levels. High glucose levels create an ideal environment for bacteria and fungi to thrive. At the same time, elevated blood sugar impairs white blood cell function, making it harder for your body to fight off infections. This creates a perfect storm where you're more likely to get infections and less able to heal from them. You might notice that small cuts take weeks to heal instead of days, or that you keep getting yeast infections, urinary tract infections, or skin infections that seem to come back no matter how many antibiotics you take. Some people develop recurring boils, slow-healing blisters, or areas of darkened skin called acanthosis nigricans, particularly around the neck, armpits, or groin. For women, recurring vaginal yeast infections can be an early sign of diabetes. The excess glucose in urine creates an ideal environment for candida to overgrow. For men, frequent jock itch or other fungal infections might be the first warning sign. Poor circulation, another consequence of diabetes, compounds the problem by reducing blood flow to extremities. This means wounds on feet and legs are particularly slow to heal and prone to becoming serious infections. What starts as a minor cut can potentially lead to gangrene and amputation if blood sugar levels aren't controlled. Healthcare providers often treat these infections individually without considering the underlying metabolic cause. You might go through multiple courses of antibiotics for recurring infections without anyone checking your blood sugar levels. This delay in diagnosis can allow diabetes to progress for years while causing ongoing immune system damage. Now we come to the seventh and most subtle symptom that even experienced doctors often miss. This symptom is so common that most people consider it a normal part of life, but it's actually one of the earliest and most reliable indicators that your body's glucose regulation system is failing. Increased hunger, especially cravings for carbohydrates and sweets, might seem like the opposite of what you'd expect with diabetes, but it's actually a logical response to cellular starvation. Even though your blood sugar levels might be elevated, your cells aren't getting the glucose they need because insulin isn't working properly. Your body interprets this cellular energy deficit as starvation and triggers intense hunger signals. But here's the cruel part. The foods you crave most are exactly the ones that make the problem worse. You might find yourself desperately wanting bread, pasta, cookies, or candy, and even after eating these foods, you still feel unsatisfied and hungry again within an hour or two. This creates a devastating cycle where you eat more carbohydrates, which spike your blood sugar even higher, which makes your insulin resistance worse, which makes your cells even more starved for energy, which triggers even more intense cravings. People often gain significant weight during this phase, not realizing they're trapped in a metabolic prison. The hunger of early diabetes has a distinctive quality. It's often described as a gnawing, empty feeling that doesn't go away even after eating a full meal. You might wake up in the middle of the night feeling desperately hungry, or find yourself thinking about food constantly throughout the day. Many people develop what researchers call food noise, intrusive thoughts about eating that interfere with concentration and daily activities. This isn't a lack of willpower or self-control. It's a direct result of metabolic dysfunction that makes your brain think you're starving even when you've just eaten. The most insidious part of this symptom is that it leads to behaviors that accelerate the progression of diabetes. People eat more sugar and refined carbohydrates to satisfy their cravings, which worsens insulin resistance. They might blame themselves for lack of discipline, not realizing their body's hunger signals have been hijacked by a metabolic disorder. Understanding these 7 early warning signs could literally save your life, but knowledge alone isn't enough. If you're experiencing any combination of these symptoms, you need to take immediate action. Don't wait for your annual physical or hope they'll go away on their own. Every day you delay could mean more irreversible damage to your organs. The standard fasting glucose test that most doctors use isn't sensitive enough to catch early diabetes. You need more comprehensive testing, including a glucose tolerance test, hemoglobin A1C, and possibly a continuous glucose monitor to see how your blood sugar responds to real-world eating patterns. But here's what gives me hope. If you catch diabetes in its early stages, it's often completely reversible through lifestyle changes. I'm not talking about managing diabetes. I'm talking about actually reversing the metabolic dysfunction that causes it. This requires a comprehensive approach that addresses diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep quality. The key is acting quickly while your pancreas can still produce insulin and your tissues haven't become completely resistant. Every month you wait, the harder it becomes to reverse the damage. But catch it early, and you have the power to not only prevent diabetes but to optimize your metabolic health beyond what you thought possible. Your body has been trying to communicate with you through these symptoms. Now that you know what it's saying, the question is, what are you going to do about it? The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Your future self is depending on the decision you make today. Remember, you are not powerless against diabetes. With early detection and aggressive intervention, you can take control of your health and live the vibrant, energetic life you deserve. Don't let these warning signs go unheeded. Your life literally depends on listening to what your body is trying to tell you. Now, click on the screen and check out my video about the 10 vegetables that make your glucose levels plummet and end diabetes.